The community in St. Louis Park obviously is becoming more and more diverse, which is a good thing. And along with that diversity, of course, opens up more opportunities for elected officials and people that are, of course, kind of know the know in St. Louis Park to open up the gates for participatory Latinos, Black, White, Asians, you name it. We need everybody to show up all the time to make sure that the elections are at its best. And I think that's one of the things that I enjoy about ranked choice voting. As a Latino, it opens up the doors to communities of color because they see the difference that it's made. We keep touching base on the numbers, voter turnout, all that is some great stuff. And along with that comes those communities of color as well, which is of course very important. I know we keep using Ward 4 as an example in Minneapolis, and it's been touched on before, and I do want to reiterate that it encourages candidates to reach out of their norm. The name, the Johnson name, the Barb Johnson name was sitting there for about 46 years from what I understand. And we understand, of course, that voter base was her base for the longest time, but when you change that up and when you change that narrative, it makes you reach out to different communities, especially communities of color. And that, of course, creates the participation movement. And that's the reason you saw the change that you did, because it changed the status quo as far as what you see when we think elections and who shows up at the polls. It's typically older white crowds is the idea, of course, if we're, I don't sugarcoat things, of course. It's typically older white crowds, and this encourages communities of color, any community that, of course, is what we considered a marginalized community. Convinces them to come out, and that's important. Of course, indicative of what happened in St. Paul. We mentioned it earlier, but with Melvin Carter, that's a beautiful thing that St. Paul was able to get in their first African-American mayor in the history of that city. And I think that opens up the doors for a bunch of different things, because they also have a park board, they also have a school board, they also have different levels of government that can use, whether it's from the QLGBT community, whether it's Latino, Asian, Black, you name it. It's always a beautiful thing to get different perspectives and different cultures in places where their voices can be heard, and they can, of course, carry the voice of their communities into these spaces, so we can talk about what we can do to stay progressive and keep on moving in a positive momentum forward, right, is the idea. One of the things that one of the initiatives that we took on, I'm part of Latino Communication Network as well. I do a little bit of PR for them, but aside from the PR thing, I thought it was great when Gina and her team reached out from Fair Vote and said, hey, we've got this initiative. And if there's one thing that I take pride in is taking all this information that I take for granted. I'm Latino, but I know English, I get it. I'm an American citizen, I hear it, I speak it, I write it. It's the people that I represent, which is my Latino community, that maybe just got here, that are just kind of trying to formulate that first sentence to feel comfortable, to have their first conversation. So when Gene came up to me, I was like, oh, this is a great opportunity to start a conversation. Because when we're talking about the Latino community, we have to break it down into two different things. There's documented and there's undocumented. I can't talk to one and leave the other behind, because they're both so important. Whether they have a path to citizenship yet or not, they're learning every day. So being able to talk about ranked choice voting, ranquealo is the word that I've been running around as part of my vocabulary with the Latino community. So remember that one, ranquealo. Not only is it catchy, but it also spells inclusiveness. It creates a culture of inclusivity, which is a beautiful thing. And that is such a great thing for me, because it's not hard for me to go out there and talk to people about the importance of voting, and to be able to sprinkle in ranked choice voting and the importance of it, and how it opens up the doors for communities of color, and how you can be part of this great program. It continues the narrative. That way the undocumented folk can talk to the documented folk. We continue to work together to open up paths. Yes, you can vote. Here's what ranked choice voting is about. And as she stated earlier, it's not complicated at all. And that's what I was really stoked about whenever I went out to talk to the Latino community. It made it easier for me. Obviously, I'm having these conversations in Spanish, but it made it so easy for me to be able to explain the process and kind of, let them know that there's places that they can go and they should feel included in. And I think that's sort of the main thing that I got out of that. Again, it just encourages participation all around the board. It gives your vote a lot of power to be able to rank it. And also, we talked about it earlier before, but you always want to give it up to the campaigns and the jobs that they do. Obviously, they're always going to put their best forward as candidates and the jobs that they do, so give it up to those guys. But I think what ranked choice voting does also is it makes us as voters also put our best foot forward, right? So now you've got a little bit of work to do. You want to do some research. You want to figure out who your candidates are. You want to be able to rank it. If you've got 6 people like the way they did in St. Paul, you rank those 6. You want to make sure your vote means that much. So again, that's why I'm here as a proponent of ranked choice voting, not only for ranked choice voting as a whole, but as a humanitarian factor as well, to be able to grab this great information, grab this great program, and share it with the Latino communities. That way they feel part of the community. And again, it's this culture of inclusivity that I'm really excited about as well.